Still many of us with heavy hearts over what happened in Newtown, Connecticut. The 20 children, the funerals are going on now, and the 6 adults that were killed at that Connecticut elementary school, and the questions of why and many other aspects of this we've been talking about here on America Tonight. One of my favorite all-time guests, such a lovely lady, Judith Barr, psychologist, and just somebody who has talked about reaching out and trying to embrace this problem to help people heal. She's been one of the leading voices out there, getting people to acknowledge that, hey, as a nation, we've got to start looking at things, looking at people and whatnot. And she's got a terrific website, PowerAbusedPowerHealed.com. And she's got a button on it that you can click on, Judith's Polypsych Barr. She's got that there. Blog rather. And if you hit that, you'll get some of her thoughts on what's happened at the Connecticut school and reactions to it and whatnot. Judith, thanks at a very difficult time for coming on ATN. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Kate. Thank you so much for asking me.
And I knew that you lived close to Newtown, but I didn't realize how close. Tell the listeners what it's been like for you, because how far away are you?
I'm 15 minutes away.
And you see the people from all over Connecticut that are just going to the town and trying to reach out to the people and do whatever they can. Have you noticed that in your neighbors and friends and the people, how they're reacting to what happened just a stone's throw away?
Well, it feels pretty heavy around here, and I've spent most of my time working with people and talking with people in and from my office and writing and, making calls to offer to help people and to offer to help first responders particularly, because I think they probably have a really hard time getting the kind of help they need to really feel what it was like for them. And helping people that I work with that live in Newtown and people that I work with, because I can't imagine that anybody on earth really has not been affected by this.
Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely, as I said, heartbreaking. It's unspeakable, shocking. We can come up with all kinds of adjectives for this, but you know this in your profession. How difficult anyway is it to get over the loss of a child, let alone a whole town dealing with the 20 children and the 6 adults? It's a long process, isn't it?
So, yes, it is heartbreaking. And to me, I think we have a lot to learn to go through the process of grief. I think our society, I don't know about others, but I think our society hurries people along and tries to get them to take some of the grief energy and go do something else with it. And I am urging everybody I can. I'm writing about it. I'm saying, please take the time you need to grieve. Please know that all sorts of feelings are included in the cauldron of grief. It's not just sadness. It's hurt and fear and anger and confusion and helplessness and hopelessness, and that's after you get through the shock, which I think, people are feeling some things, but I think the shock hasn't worn off yet. And I think in our society, people have some idea of that it should be a relatively short thing, the grieving time, but there's no standard time, Kate. Everybody finds their own rhythm and pace for grieving and their own way. And I think one of the things that really complicates it and makes it impossible to have a standard timing is that any time we're in grief, it stirs up all the loss and grief from our past that we haven't yet finished with, or maybe even haven't yet grieved at all. So, like, for example, with this experience, this tragedy in Newtown, I've already talked to people. I know it's bringing up the feelings people had at 9/11. And I know 9/11 is bringing up feelings people had younger in their lives. I've already been working with people in my practice on the lack of safety in their childhood lives that this is bringing up. So all of that has to be grieved. And I tell people, don't let anybody interrupt your process. Don't let a therapist interrupt it. Don't let a partner. Don't let a teacher. Don't let a media person. Don't let a spiritual leader. Don't let anybody interfere with the time and the way you need to safely grieve.
Wow, very, very powerful and interesting that so close to New York City that naturally, I didn't even think of that, the connection, the safety issue, and what happened on 9/11. For children, for children who are in schools now are asking a lot of questions. I've seen this with my nieces and nephews. What can we tell the children to comfort them, that because they know what happened and they're talking about it, even if they're not talking about it in the classrooms, they are outside of the classrooms. What do you tell a child, Judith, about this?
Kate, there's a part of me that wants to answer you directly, and there's a part of me that wants to say some other things first, because I would talk very differently to a child than most people would. So are you all right with my going around
I am.
to come back to you?
I am, yes.
Okay. So these are not all the things I would say to the child. These are the things I'm saying to you and I'm saying to the other grown-ups. We don't want to know, we ourselves mostly don't want to know about the roots of violence in our world. We don't want to know that there is a current of violence in each of us. We mostly don't want to know that each of us has our breaking point. We mostly don't want to know that each of us contributes to the violence, even if we aren't aware of it, even if we want to deny it, even if we don't seem to be acting out on it. If somebody fantasizes violence, if somebody watches violent movies or TV programs, if somebody has an experience with a sport like football or boxing, and they get there, I'm going to use this word, it may be irritating, they get their fix of violence without having to act it out, that is contributing to the violence in our world. Because they're supporting the violent sports, they're supporting the violent movies, they're supporting the violent TV shows. And it is so important that each of us looks inside and finds out, wants to know, looks in the mirror and says, where is the violence in me? How do I contribute to the violence in our world? And it comes, Kate, because most of us have not had the help from our parents who did not have the help from their parents to feel our feelings, to build our capacity to feel our feelings, to learn what to do with them safely, so that then we don't act out on violent feelings. We know what to do with them. We know how to follow the ones that are from childhood for healing, and what to do with ones in the here and now that we need to find a way to deal with. Are you with me?
I'm with you, absolutely. And
so, I'm sorry, go on.
And that's it's interesting in what you're saying. It's the denial, people denying that they don't have that we need to, as you say, look inside of ourselves. And I think that's tough for a lot of people.
It is. And as I've been watching TV, I felt like I wanted to say to people that have talked, just don't point your finger at this perpetrator or that perpetrator. Look inside. Don't call these people evil. Look inside yourself, because each one of us that takes care of that inside ourselves will remove some of the energy and the activity from the violence in our world. So if we come back to the children, if I had a child who was asking me, what happened, Mommy? Why did that man kill all those people? I might say, well, do you remember when you were, I'll just use a little boy this time, but I might say the same thing to a little girl. Remember when you were a little boy and you got really angry at me and you tried to bite me And I said, I see you're angry at me, but don't bite me. Use your words. And remember when you couldn't use your words because you couldn't find your words? I said, tell me I'm mad, Mommy. And when you couldn't do that, sometimes I would say, okay, if you need to bite, here's a towel. You can bite on it. And while you bite on the towel, I will say, you're mad at Mommy. And I would say, remember how I taught you what to do with your anger? Nobody taught this man what to do with his anger.
Yeah, so much we just don't know, but so much we learned from you, Judith. Thank you. Judith Barr, check it out, powerabuse.powerhealed.com. Click on the button, Judith Polypsych blog. She's written extensively about this. And Judith, tough times. Thanks for coming on America Tonight.
Thank you so much, Kate.